Hi, this is a Neo Coolcam 16A smart plug. I managed to make this smart plug work with Home Assistant, like this. And I would like to share with you how I did it. I bought 5 of these plugs and it cost me $37. Previously, you were able to flash this smart plug with your own firmware over the air with tuya-convert. But if you see here, if you have bought one with the recent Tuya firmware like me, you will have to disassemble and make a direct connection. Let me show you how. You will need a basic soldering kit, a soldering iron, soldering paste, of course some solder, and flux. I prefer using a flux pen. You also need tweezers, a 2mm hex screwdriver, pliers, a hammer, and an ftdi USB to TTL adapter. Optionally, isopropyl alcohol and a Q-tip, and a multimeter to check the continuity of your connections. Okay, let's get started. There's a sticker on the surface of the socket. Gently take it off. Inside there is a hex screw. Use a 2mm hex screwdriver to remove it. Now you can remove the upper casing of the socket. It is a good idea to mark the location of the Wi-Fi antenna. Gently peel the antenna off. Be careful or you might damage the joint between the antenna and the cable. After you get it off, stick it to the surface of the circuit board so that you don't damage it while taking out the circuit board. Move the plug to a solid surface. Grab your hammer and gently tap on the metal bars of the plug. Apply force in a perpendicular direction to minimize any damage. Give a gentle push on the metal bars with something sharp, and then you will be able to completely take out the circuit board from its casing. There was a yellow tape masking the pads, so I peeled it off halfway and then secured it on the metal bars. Here is a closer look at the pads. We are going to make 4 connections: 3.3 volts, ground, transmission, and reception. In order to connect to the tiny pads, I am going to use 4 strands of 30 gauge teflon wrapping wires. Since the wires are so thin, I needed to make an adapter for my ftdi USB adapter. I used 4 female to male jumper wires and soldered the end of the 30 gauge wires to the male pins. There is a concave surface on the male pins, so if you solder the thin wires to that part, it is possible to make a strong solder joint. This is the connection you have to make. Connect 3.3 volts and ground to each other and make a crossed connection between TXD and RXD. Apply some flux on the pads and then tin the pads. Also, pre-tin the end of the 30 gauge wires. I'm connecting 3.3 volts, then ground, TX, then RX. Then I checked if I had continuity to all of the 4 pins. However, during the process, the wire fell off the ground pad. This also happened while working with another plug, and it seems the surface of the ground pad is harder to attach. This large pad on the right side is also ground, so I soldered the ground wire to that pad. The board on this plug only accepts 3.3 volts. So if you have an FTDI adapter that supports both 5 and 3.3 volts, make sure you have it set to 3.3 volts. Now it's time to create our bin file. So go to ESPHome and create a new node. This is going to be plug 03 for me. Next, we are going to overwrite everything, so just, it really doesn't matter. And submit. And now I have plug 03. Go to edit and paste. Okay, everything looks fine. And I'm going to save this. And now I'm going to compile this into a bin file. Click compile. This is going to take a while. Fast forward, and we have successfully compiled our new firmware. Now download binary. Don't close this. Download binary, and now we have plug03.bin. Now we need a software to flash our plug, and there is a software called NodeMCU Flasher. NodeMCU Flasher. And in my case, I am using Windows 64-bit, so I am going to download this ESP8266 flasher.exe. Now run the downloaded file, ESP8266 flasher. When plugging in the USB to your computer, you have to hold down to this button. Hold on to the button and then plug in the USB, and after 5 seconds let go of the button. This will make the chip go into flash mode. Now, using this method, if you plug in the FTDI adapter, a new COM port will show up. In my case, it was COM9. Go to config, click on the gear icon, select the bin file you downloaded, go to advanced, change flash size into 1 megabyte, SPI mode to D-out, and then make sure you have the right COM port, and then flash. Okay, let me speed this up. Okay, we have successfully flashed our plug with our custom ESPHome firmware. Now unplug and plug back in the FTDI adapter. This will make the plug boot with the new firmware. Now, if you wait for a moment, you will get a new notification. This means that Home Assistant has detected our new smart plug. Go to Integrations, ESPHome, add the new module, and finish. Now let's add this new smart plug to our Lovelace UI. I'll make a new view, and add all entities to an entities card that starts with plug 03. So there you have it. You can check amperage, voltage, wattage, the status of the LED and relay. You can also toggle it from the Lovelace UI. Congratulations! You now have full control over your new smart plug. Now, time to reassemble the plug. Remove the wires. If you have some isopropyl alcohol laying around, you could use a Q-tip to clean up the flux you applied. Then, put back the tape to its original position. Now it's time to put back the board into its casing. Before inserting the board, you have to use pliers to bend the metal piece outwards so that the edge is aligned with the inner edge of the plastic part. Otherwise, the two metal bars will not fit into the holes. Gently push on the board so that the bars go through the holes. And then put back the antenna to its original position. Make sure the metal piece made its way to the other side of the board. In my case, I think I didn't bend the metal piece away enough, so it got stuck. Then it's time to reassemble the upper part of the casing. Be careful not to damage the antenna. Screw the hex screw back in place. Then, finally, you can put back the sticker on. And if you have multiple plugs, I recommend you to label your plugs. This wraps up today's video. For the next step, I am planning to calibrate my 5 plugs. If you think I should also make a video on this topic, please let me know. See you next time.